Saddam Hussein was one of the most murderous tyrants of the 20th century.
They fought the law, and the law won. Well, most of the time. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 international manhunts. For this list, we're looking at those famous manhunts that spanned multiple countries and made headlines around the world due to the extensive resources used and the criminals' infamous acts of atrocity. Because we're only focusing on international manhunts, local ones like the Boston Marathon bombers, the Zodiac killer, and the Unabomber will all be excluded, as those were limited to one specific country.
For almost 20 years, his seemingly random bombings have killed and maimed innocent people across the country.
Number 10. Luca Magnotta.
But what would push anyone to do this? And how did he go from internet wannabe to the object of an international manhunt?
And here we thought Canadians were supposed to be polite. Last seen on May 24, 2012, Chinese international student Lin Jun was captured by Magnotta and dismembered. And a video depicting Magnotta committing the murder was posted online to a gore website.
The video lasts 11 amoral minutes. Someone stabs the corpse repeatedly with an ice pick, then dismembers the body with a knife.
Various parts of Lin's body were mailed across the country, with his left foot going to the headquarters of Canada's Conservative Party and his right foot and hand going to 2 Canadian elementary schools.
The head is the body part that is still missing, and believe me, Aaron, police too are very careful when they bring up these gruesome details. They are so graphic, and they are obviously thinking about the family when they do so.
After fleeing Canada, Magnotta traveled through Europe, where he was eventually apprehended in Berlin after an Interpol red notice was issued. What was he doing? Reading news stories about himself at an internet cafe.
Our policeman went inside and asked the person for his identification. He gave them a false name, but he got very nervous.
Number 9. Radovan Karadzic. Karadzic is a co-founder of Bosnia's Serb Democratic Party and was the first president of the Republika Srpska, serving from 1992 to 1996.
Radovan Karadzic saw an opportunity to reinvent himself as a militant nationalist leader, riding on this wave of growing Serbian nationalism.
That doesn't sound so bad, but just wait. During the Bosnian War, between 1992 and 1995, Karadzic committed various war crimes against non-Serbs, including genocide, and is thought to have murdered up to 7,500 Muslims. He fled to Belgrade and worked in a private clinic under the alias Dr. Dragan David Dabic, and subsequently lived in Vienna, Austria under the name Petar Glumac.
During the 13-year-long manhunt for him, nobody, not even friends and close relatives, knew that Karadzic and Dr. Dabic were the same person.
And his capture sounds like it was ripped straight from a screenplay. Karadzic was allegedly taken into custody by Belgrade locals who figured out his real identity and wanted to claim the reward for his capture.
Karadzic and Mladic are responsible for capturing 8,000 people, men and boys, who were then killed in the most brutal way.
Number 8. Ayman Mohammed Rabi al-Zawahiri.
ولكن كان يحزن يعني في نفسه حزنا شديدا إذا أحس أن إخوانه على درب الجهاد قد ظلموا أو لم يأخذوا حقهم.
He's an Egyptian-born Muslim, the current leader of the global militant organization Al-Qaeda, and he's still at large to this day.
Zawahiri, the man is an aristocrat. He comes from a major Egyptian Saudi family, and he thinks that, you know, he is a visionary.
Ayman Mohammed Rabi al-Zawahiri is responsible for a host of atrocities, including a car bombing on the Egyptian embassy in Pakistan. He was listed under indictment by the United States government for his role in the infamous 1998 U.S. embassy bombings. However, he's perhaps best known for his many videos supporting heinous actions such as the 9/11 attacks. Highlighting their desire to capture al-Zawahiri, as of February 2016, the U.S. Department of State was offering up to $25 million for information leading to his capture.
In a newly released audio message, Al-Qaeda's leader al-Zawahiri takes aim directly at ISIS leader al-Baghdadi, calling Baghdadi's Islamic State illegitimate.
Number 7. Saddam Hussein.
That fear that he evoked from these people, he enjoyed.
Saddam Hussein served as the 5th president of Iraq, reigning from July 1979 to April 2003. However, his presidency was a terrible time for some citizens of Iraq, as his dictatorship was responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths.
Iraq lost control of portions of its country, portions of its airspace, but the military was allowed to remain strong, and Saddam was able to keep control of the government.
In January 2002, American President George W. Bush announced that he would collapse the Iraqi government due to its alleged possession of weapons of mass destruction. After the 2003 American invasion of Iraq, Hussein lost his control over the government and went into hiding.
And this is it. This is the last thing that Saddam saw as a free man.
He was eventually captured in December 2003 by American forces at a farm near Tikrit after 9 months of topping the most wanted Iraqis list. He was hanged on December 20th, 2006.
This is Judgment Day for Saddam Hussein. The verdict is in, guilty as charged.
Number 6. Adolf Eichmann.
This city, this country, the entire world is under a state of heightened anticipation. The stakes could not be higher.
A well-known lieutenant colonel in Nazi Germany's SS organization, Adolf Eichmann was one of the leading orchestrators of the mass deportation of Jews to extermination camps during the Holocaust.
4 days later, Eichmann was sent to Vienna to rid Austria of its Jewish population.
After being captured by Americans, Eichmann escaped custody and briefly hid in Germany before fleeing to Argentina, becoming department head at Mercedes-Benz. His capture was the result of an emigrated half-Jew whose daughter began dating Eichmann's son, Klaus, in 1956. Klaus frequently bragged about his father's Nazi past, and after Mossad authorities were alerted, Eichmann was captured 4 years after the investigation began.
I want to know about your friends who helped you escape from Europe, who supplied you with false papers. How did you get into Argentina?
That was a long time ago, sir.
Number 5. Edward Snowden.
If I end up in chains in Guantanamo, I can live with that.
Hero, whistleblower, dissident, patriot, and traitor. All of these labels have been applied to Edward Snowden, a former CIA employee. He's the man responsible for copying classified information from the NSA and publicly releasing it in 2013.
If I get arrested, I get arrested. We were able to get the information that needed to get out.
The Department of Justice charged Snowden with violating the Espionage Act of 1917 and theft of government property. In May of 2013, Snowden fled from Hawaii to Hong Kong, courtesy of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, to protect Snowden from the imminent backlash. In June of that same year, he traveled to Russia, where he was eventually granted asylum for 3 years.
They monitored the internet in ways I consider inappropriate. But my day-to-day life, it's much better than prison.
While he's currently looking for sanctuary elsewhere, the only thing that's certain is that he will continue to divide public opinion.
What's the next step? When do you think you'll go public?
I think it's pretty soon. I mean, with the reaction, this escalated more quickly. I think pretty much as soon as they start trying to make this about me, which should be any day now.
Number 4. Muammar al-Gaddafi.
Gaddafi, having been a Bedouin, one of the foundations of his personality was the great underdog rising to power.
After helping orchestrate the 1969 Libyan coup d'etat, Muammar al-Gaddafi rose to power as the primary leader and governor of Libya from 1969 to 2011.
Gaddafi, like so many dictators, lived in perpetual fear of assassination. But Gaddafi took his war with the opposition outside Libya.
Serving as the brotherly leader of the great socialist People's Libyan Arab Jamahiriya, Gaddafi soon became infamous due to his supposed support of terrorism and his various violations of human rights. The country's strained relationship with the West eventually resulted in the 1986 bombing of Libya.
When our citizens are abused or attacked anywhere in the world on the direct orders of a hostile regime, we will respond.
During the Arab Spring of 2011, rebel militias pushed back against Gaddafi, and he went on the run. NATO bombers eventually attacked his convoy, and Gaddafi was taken prisoner and subsequently beaten and killed.
It's still unclear if they hit Gaddafi's car, but when rebels pour in, they tell the BBC's Gabriel Gatehouse he was hiding in this drainage pipe.
Number 3. El Chapo Guzman. Born Joaquin Guzman, This drug lord is arguably the most influential and powerful drug kingpin of all time.
To many in Sinaloa, El Chapo is not just a drug trafficker. He's a hero. They see him as a modern-day Robin Hood.
The DEA has noted that his reach has exceeded that of Pablo Escobar, and the Chicago Crime Commission named him Public Enemy #1, a distinction not given out since Al Capone in 1930.
He's completely daring. He's nuts. He clones Border Patrol cars.
After being captured in 1993, El Chapo escaped from prison in 2001 by bribing security guards. Wanted by the American and Mexican governments, he was arrested by Mexican authorities in 2014.
It was a stunning sight. The most powerful drug lord in the world in handcuffs after more than a decade as a wanted man.
He escaped prison again in 2015 via a secret tunnel system, before being recaptured in January of 2016 by the Mexican Navy. Sounds like the script to a killer TV show. Number 2, Pablo Escobar.
Yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Mis ojos están en todos lados, o sea, ustedes no pueden hacer una puta sola mierda en el departamento de Antioquia sin que yo me entere.
El Chapo's power may arguably reach further, but never discount the achievements of Pablo Escobar. At the height of his power, Escobar was supplying up to 80% of America's cocaine and was personally worth $30 billion. But as is often the case with criminals, Escobar met a violent end.
I remember the police always telling me, he says, Javier, we're not in this to get dope. We're not in this to seize money. We're in here to kill Pablo Escobar. Why? It's a revenge. It's personal.
He escaped from his own personal prison in 1992 and was pursued by the Colombian National Police Task Force, the Search Block. Eventually, the United States also joined the hunt with Colombian officials, and on December 2, 1993, Escobar was shot and killed during a shootout on the Medellin rooftops.
He always mentioned that from the 15 bullets in his gun, 14 would be for his enemies, and the last one for him.
The rest is Netflix history. Before we hunt down our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
The entire police force in America's second largest city essentially held hostage to one man who's allegedly bent on revenge.
The suspected ringleader of the horrific attack in Paris is believed to be Abdelhamid Aboud. He is a Belgian national in his 20s who lives in the Molenbeek district of Brussels.
Let me remind you, Ali Hassan Salameh, he invented Black September. He is the architect of the Munich murders.
Number 1. Osama bin Laden.
And I'm going to find out once and for all. Where in the world is Osama bin Laden?
Easily the most famous manhunt in history, the search for Osama bin Laden has been well documented in both the news and Hollywood.
Bin Laden was taking the global war to America. The Americans understood that Al-Qaeda could attack at any place and at any time.
The founder of Al-Qaeda, bin Laden was responsible for massive attacks on civilian targets and claimed responsibility for the 9/11 attacks.
So you have no idea right now?
There's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it. Explosion.
For 10 years, bin Laden's capture was of the utmost importance to the FBI, and a $25 million bounty was placed on his head.
After about 30 seconds of discussion, he kind of listened to me ramble on, and then the first thing he said was, I don't think you guys can handle it. You can't handle Al-Qaeda in these mountains.
It took 10 years before he was finally located in Abbottabad, Pakistan in 2011. Barack Obama famously ordered Operation Neptune Spear, and bin Laden's compound was stormed.
Echo 02, moving to deck 3.
Bin Laden was dead a matter of minutes into the operation, and so ended a decade of searching.
Just based on the level of threat of him not surrendering and the likelihood of him having a vest, I engaged him. I shot him twice in the head. He fell on the floor. I shot him one more time, and I killed him.
Do you agree with our list? Which famous manhunt did we miss? For more easy-to-find top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
A dark and painful era is over. A hopeful day has arrived.